Charles Darwin. Presentation. Biographical data. Charles Robert Darwin was born in Shrewsbury in February 1809, the fifth child and second of a prosperous medical doctor, Robert Warren Darwin, one of the leading intellectuals of 18th century England, and his wife Susanna Wade. One of his grandfathers was Erasmus Darwin, the poet, early evolutionary thinker and physician. He remembered his earliest days as every happy ones, even though his mother died when he was 8 years old. Darwin attended Shrewsbury School, a private boys' school, from 1818 to 1825. As a boy, he hoped to become a doctor and sometimes accompanied his father on medical rounds. At school, he enjoyed chemistry, and he and his older brother Erasmus set up a small laboratory at home for performing experiments during holidays. He loved collecting natural history specimens. In 1825, at Edinburgh Medical School, he began studying medicine. University studies. He started studying medicine in 1825 at Edinburgh Medical School. University was the leading center in Britain for science and medicine. Darwin also enjoyed a lot of independent practical natural history work. He joined Plinian Society, a small student society where he met Robert Grant, a charismatic university lecturer in the medical school who approved of French developmental anatomy and evolutionary views. Under Grant's guidance, Darwin began observing soft-bodied marine organisms from the North Sea and made his first discovery in science, but these medical studies were not finished. Studies and beliefs. At the university, Grant persuaded Darwin to read Lamarck's System of Invertebrate Animals, 1801, and one day burst out in congratulate of Lamarck's view on transmutation, sometimes also called transformings. The word evolution was not used at that time. By then, Erasmus Darwin and Lamarck had been dead for several decades, but were by no means regarded as old-fashioned. Grant used these ideas appropriately, updated to propose sponges as the basic organism from which all other forms developed to make the evolutionary tree. Darwin's father was not satisfied about his son's change of direction. Darwin shortly afterwards entered Christ's College, Cambridge, to read for an ordinary degree, the usual start for taking holy orders in the Anglican Church. At this time, most of Europeans believed that the world was created by God in 7 days as described in the Bible. Faith conventions. It was said that Christian God had created a world in which all had its place and was designed to its job properly in the 16th and 17th centuries. Theological doctrine in this regard has completely incorporated into the political and social ethos of the most significant men of the early years of the century, the Cambridge Network, as it has been characterized. Paley's clear language gave Darwin great pleasure. While he eventually discarded all notions of a designer God, he always kept alive the sense of wonder that he had learned from Paley, and never quite discarded those early feelings of worship. It was Cambridge that handed him the future in the form of the Beagle voyage, the long sea voyage that transformed his life after his final examinations in 1831. He inspired by reading Humboldt's travels. He wanted to make a natural history expedition to Tenerife with Henslow, but the logistics couldn't be afforded. The Beagle Route of Navigation is a chart which shows all the route that the Beagle took. Charles Darwin joined a 5-year scientific expedition on the survey ship HMS Beagle by 1831. The Beagle Journey. The 5 years at the Beagle were combined of diverse activities and out of the ship. The voyage made him also. During the travel, Charles Darwin could plenty read about geology. He received good attention from Fitzroy and although he had become a biblical fundamentalist, there is no evidence they would have some oddments during the travel. Darwin's families were all against slavery, so maybe the only disappointment between him and Fitzroy was because of an incident at Great Estancia in Brazil, which still lived under Portugal laws. Both wrote an article about the work of Anglican mission on Tahiti. Darwin also could study natural history, collect birds, vertebrates, invertebrates, rock, fossils, insects, etc. The advance in his ideas came in the Galapagos Islands, 500 miles west of South America. Darwin noticed that each island supported its own form of finch, which were closely related but different in important ways. Galapagos Islands. The Beagle reached Galapagos Islands by September 1835. These 14 Thomas peaks of land were right at the Equator. Darwin was fascinated by the great tortoises, iguanas, mockingbirds, penguins, and Hobson's boobies, as well as the arid volcanic landscape and some strange flora. He collected birds, realizing that from one to another islands the mockingbirds were different, so he mentioned these facts on his ornithological notes. Adaptive radiation in Galapagos finches. What Darwin said of Galapagos. When I see these islands inside of each other and possessed by a scanty stock of animals, tinted by these birds, but slightly different in structure and filling the same place in nature, I must suspect they are only varieties. If there is the slightest foundation for these remarks, the zoology of archipelagos will be worth examining. Lyell's influence. On the voyage, Darwin read Principles of Geology, which suggested that fossils found in rocks were clear evidence of animals that had lived many thousands or millions years ago. Lyell's arguments was reinforced in Darwin's own mind by the rich diversity of animal life and the geological features he saw during this voyage. After the Beagle returned, Darwin wrote this as a tribute to Lyell's. Always feel as if my books came half out Lyell's brain, and that I have never acknowledged this sufficiently. Return to England. On his return to England in 1836, Darwin tried to solve the riddles of these observations and the puzzle of how species evolve. Influenced by the ideas of Malthus, he proposed a theory of evolution occurring by the process of natural selection. The animals or plants best suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on the characteristics which help them survive of their offspring. Gradually, the species changes over time. Darwin worked on this theory for 20 years. After learning that another naturalist, Alfred Russel Wallace, had developed similar ideas, the two made a joint announcement of their discovery in 1858. In 1858, Darwin published On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. The book was extremely controversial because the logical extension of Darwin's theory was that Homo sapiens was simply another form of animal. It made it seem possible that even people might just have evolved, quite possibly from apes, and destroy the prevailing orthodoxy on how the world was created. Darwin was vehemently attacked, particularly by the Church. However, his ideas soon gained currency and have become the new orthodoxy. Darwin died on April 1882 and was buried in Westminster Abbey.